Hello and welcome to Grumpy Old Crone with me, Annie, where I will be whinging to you for the next 30-ish minutes about things that don't matter very much in the witchcraft and pagan community. I sound a little bit rougher today than I normally do. I'm not quite as bouncy because after having done a test yesterday, apparently I've gone down with COVID. Joy, happy, joy, and I feel a bit like poo. But anyway, I'm going to try and do this and distract myself by whinging about entertaining things so that I don't feel quite so rubbish. So that's the plan. Anyway, so today, the first thing I want to do in my Witchy Aesthetic is talk about what I reckon is like the finest thing that I have done for both my practice and my body in terms of practice in the last few years. So if you're under 40, then this will probably have very little resonance with you at all, because you're probably still leaping around like a little spring lamb and being joyfully unaware of the pain that a crappy old joint can cause you. But if, like me, you have started to make creaking noises when you stand up and can't stand up or sit down without making a grunt, then you might understand where I'm coming from on this one. So I have spoken before about altars and the fact that mine is just down here. And I've set up many altars over the years, but for some inexplicable reason, and it's never done on purpose, but they've always been on really low surfaces. Never once in my entire life have I set up some kind of desk level altar, which seems to be the most sensible thing to do, but I've never managed to do it. But then again, I've never been very sensible, so it has a little bit of an issue for me, because I do quite a lot of things like candle magic, where you're sat in front of it for 30-45 minutes or more, constantly sending intention, meditating and sending intention into your candle to do your working. And generally I tend to do that whilst kneeling in front of my altar. This was a particularly bad issue when my altar was set up downstairs in my living room, because I've got a hardwood floor in there, and that was not great on the old knees. And in fact, for a while I was down there, I was in quite a lot of pain, and I did give myself bursitis at one point, which is housemaid's knee, which frankly, if something's going to hurt as much as housemaid's knee does, I feel the medical profession could have given us a better title than housemaid's knee or bursitis. I think it could have been agonising cartilage compression or something, because housemaid's knee, somebody says, why are you hobbling around like an old woman in need of a knee replacement, and you say housemaid's knee, it just sounds like something from Downton Abbey, doesn't it? It sounds like something that can be fixed with a strong cup of tea and a good talking to from the butler. And that was not my experience with bursitis. It hurt like hell, and it wasn't much fun. And I had to wear a knee brace for ages. And I realised the worst part of it all was that it was entirely self-inflicted by kneeling on a hard surface for an hour at a time. What a nana. So I thought I'd better do something about this. So in the first instance, I brought my altar up here, which was a really good move, because that also means that I don't have to move it when it's time for Christmas trees and things like that. It's just here all the time. But also, I've got carpet on this floor, and that makes it a little bit easier. A little bit easier, but not completely pain-free, I have to say. So I spent a little time on the internet having a look around, trying to figure out what other people did, because surely I wasn't the only person with crappy knees who needed to be in a low situation. So I looked at things like yoga and meditation and what have you, and I discovered that meditation stools are absolutely a thing. However, they're not cheap. I discovered that you can get them for like, I don't know, 50 quid up to 100 and something quid, but essentially they're just like little plain wooden stools, maybe if you're lucky with a little cushion on top of it, sometimes not, and I didn't see why the blue blazes they should be quite as expensive as they were. So then I had a bit of a hunt around the internet. Now I will say I did find these on a large internet retailer that's named after a major river. However, I didn't buy them from there because then, as now, I don't believe billionaires need any much more of our money than they already have. So I found it somewhere else. It's probably still going to end up in a billionaire's pocket, hey ho, but I felt better about it. And what I did was I got myself like a little wooden footstool, which I was quite pleased with. And then because one of my hobbies is pyrography, I have like a really nice pyrography set that I do tarot boxes and all sorts excuse me, COVID, tarot boxes and all sorts of things like that with. I thought, why don't I make it look a bit better than just a plain wood stool? So what I ended up with is this. Okay, now I think this cost 13 quid from another retailer online. Can't remember which one it was. Have a bit of a hunt. You're bound to find the same. It's just pine. It's nothing exciting. And what I did was, here we go. Pyrography. I put some of the things that matter a great deal to me on it. So I've got a raven. I've got a hare over here. I've got pentacles. I've got oak leaves. I've got acorns. All sorts of things. I really had fun doing this. And I sit on this when I sit at my altar. And what it does is just saves my knees. My knees are quite raised. I'm just going to put this down. My knees are still quite raised, but they're raised to about the right level for me to rest my arms on them when I meditate. And also it's not so comfy that I stand any chance of falling off to sleep when I meditate, because believe me, that's another problem when you hit over 50, is meditation and sleep can often be one and the same thing unless you're quite careful. So I found it's absolutely perfect for that. I made a few of them for when I do witch fairs and things like that. I don't charge nearly enough for them because they take ages putting all of the designs and stuff on them. But I find it remarkably helpful. Now, it could be that you have got your altar set up in a place where you can stand at it or sit at it on a sensible chair, in which case you get a gold star and a brownie point for being a very sensible person. If, however, you too have yours set up at a very low level for reasons that you don't entirely understand, but that's the space you've got, like me, then I highly recommend a little wooden footstool, and you can decorate it however you like. I mean, I've got things that mean stuff to me, so it feels like I'm kind of rooted in my energy when I sit on it. I do have another one that's got some other sigils and things on it that I use for different workings. But you could do anything. I use pyrography because I love pyrography, and that's a thing that I do. However, you could also do it with like decoupage, or you could do it with colouring. If you have a stool like that doesn't have a varnish on it, then if you put a little bit of watercolour into alcohol, like kind of like rubbing alcohol, then you can paint on it, and the alcohol will help the pigment soak into the wood, and then the alcohol will just kind of evaporate. That's the word. I'm sorry, I'm not with it today. The brain fog is real. It will evaporate and leave your pigment in there. So if you're feeling artistic, that's a nice thing you can try as well. But basically, decorate something, have a bit of fun with it, and then what you've got is an energetic piece of really useful furniture. I will also say that it's incredibly useful for reaching things on high up shelves. You can't really see behind me, but these are Billy bookcases from IKEA. So if you know anything about IKEA, you know they go quite high, and the only reason that I can get things on and off of the top of them is by using that little footstool, because with age I'm also shrinking a bit. Bummer. But there we go. So stools are very useful. So there we go. That is my witchy tip and aesthetic for today. Get yourself a footstool to sit on. Don't do your knees in. Okay? Job's a good one. And now, meat and 2 potatoes. So today, what I want to talk about is part 2 of a video that I made, was it a couple of weeks ago? I don't know, the brain fog is getting quite real. And And it's the second half of the question about raising power and powering spells. And this part of the conversation came directly from a question that a commenter called Amber Sage had asked. And this was, she had gone on to, I don't know which platform, and asked a question about something. And somebody had asked how she was powering her spells. And they said, powering a spell with your own energy is the witchcraft equivalent of self-harm. And she was quite puzzled by this. And so I presume that she was watching one of my videos next and thought she'd ask me a question. And I thought that was actually an excellent question. So I sat with it for a little while and had a good think. I really like to think about questions like this because I've never been one of those people who really understood why a politician would say that the fact that they will never change their mind on something, no matter how much evidence or proof or persuasive argument is put before them, and they consider that to be a good thing. You see, I don't. I never have done. I think if somebody can make a good argument with me about why I am wrong, then I should give them, you know, the respect to listen to their point and to give it a little bit of thought. I mean, we've all got enough time in our lives to just give something a minute or two's thought, haven't we, really? And so I sat down with this thought from Amber, and the more I thought about it, the more I kind of saw where she was coming from. If you've been with me for a while, you'll know that I made a video a while back about simmer pots. Now, I don't like simmer pots. I don't get simmer pots. I don't think simmer pots should be part of somebody's practice, because for me, it's just boiling a whole lot of perfectly good vegetative stuff and then throwing it away. I don't get it. I've never got it. And I said as much in my usual forthright manner about simmer pots. You know, bleh, don't like them. But a few people came into my comments and they made what I consider to be excellent points. One of the points was, so what happens if you live in a rented apartment or a rented house that has smoke alarms, or that you're not allowed to create any kind of smoke, whether it's vaping or incense or what have you. You're not allowed to do anything that might affect the fabric of the building in that way. What do you do? Valid. That's valid. That is a situation that many people are in. Now, I'm aware that I'm lucky enough to live in a house where I am free to do what I want with and in it. But I'm also aware that I've got a big old fat chunk of privilege there because of that. And it's not always been the case. But at the moment, yeah, this is my house. I'm allowed to burn whatever I like in it. But I recognise that not everybody is in that same position, are they? And incense for me is a natural offering to deity and spirit. But if I can't do that, does that mean I can't offer something that satisfies the nebulous smell aspect that many deities and spirits like as part of their offerings? Does that mean I just can't give a suitable offering? And then the more I sat and I thought about it, I thought, well, yeah, actually, I'm being a snob. I'm being a snob, and I'm looking at everybody else's practice through the lens of my own, and that is privilege. That's the very definition of privilege. Lighting an incense stick or a cone or burning loose incense is one of those things that really centers me into my practice. And if I don't have that, what do I do? And the answer, much as I disliked it, was simmer pot. I kind of get it. I mean, it's still not something that I want to do myself, but how much of an arsehole would I be if I said that nobody else could do that? If that's the thing that they are able to do in the space that they have, then yeah, you should be able to do that. So I sat with that argument and I looked at it and I realised that yes, I was being an arsehole, and I was being a gatekeepy arsehole. And whilst I'm big about gatekeeping, is not a thing I'm generally embarrassed about, when it's partnered with arseholery, then yes, okay, I need to wobble my head and have a think. So in that case, yeah, my instinctive reaction to Amber's question about is using your own power a form of self-harm was, no, of course it's not. That's bloody ridiculous. You power something however you want to power it. And then I thought about it. I think it is an inarguable scientific fact that we are all powered by energy. That's what an EEG or an ECG does, is it looks at electrical energy and it looks at how the body uses those and how those manifest in either the body working well or something breaking down, so that we can then diagnose what is going wrong. But at the end of the day, we are looking at the power and the energy within the body. As I say, I've sat by deathbeds, and it was most obvious when my mum and I nursed my dad on his last journey out of this world. And we sat by his bedside and we held his hands as he took his final breaths and he left. As his body stopped working, something left that room. Now, I witnessed that as something that was recognisably my dad left that room. And what was left behind, his body, was not my dad. And what was left was just a shell. It was just a shell that had failed him, broken down, and he left behind. If you want to put a really common popular trope onto that, when we watch anything involving a person passing away in a hospital, there is the machine that goes beep, to use a Monty Python quote, stopping beeping. Beep, 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 beep. That sound to all of us means death. All of us. The energy has stopped. Humanity is a clever species, but we still have no bloody idea of what that life energy is, or how to imbue it into a body other than the normal conception and birth process that we all experience. We don't have any more idea of how that works than Mary Shelley did over 200 years ago when she wrote Frankenstein, trying to find some answers within a perennial question. But if we accept that we all have that force and that force exists, and I don't think we can argue that it doesn't, we have to look at how we can use that force. Now, I've used this force, and I think all of us have, one way or another. It's the mother kissing away the grazed knee pain of the small child. It's a man down on one knee with a ring box in his hand, looking up and thinking, please say yes, please say yes, please say yes. It's the person standing there waiting to win the raffle. And my kid's biological dad, he does exactly that. I don't think he's ever bought a ticket to a raffle that he's not won. It's just a thing. He just wins raffles. So does my daughter, actually. I think that's passed down. I cannot stand close to anything that gives off Wi-Fi signals because I block them. All of my family and friends will attest to the fact that if I'm standing too close to a Wi-Fi router, it will stop working, and if I move 5 steps away, it will start working again. Back, forth, provable. I don't know why. It's a shit superpower, is all I can say. If I had the chance, I would prefer to fly or be invisible, but no, shitty Wi-Fi woman, that's me. But my point is that personal energy is there and can be used to power other things. I find it particularly good when that power needs to be personal. Okay, so when you're making a talisman for somebody that you love, or you're putting a ward around a house, something that is really deeply personal to you, then that's absolutely when that power should be called and used. But if you try to power every single spell that you do with your own personal energy, what you will do is you will lessen yourself to the point where you are tired and burnt out, and your ability to perform magical work will be lessened. And I think that is probably what the person who was talking to Amber was getting at, although I think they gave it a very blanket view, which was not necessarily as helpful and explanatory as it should have been. Because sometimes, if we go back to that metaphor of the car, needing to put in the fuel, needing to turn the key, and needing to steer it where you want to go, sometimes you don't want to take the car at all. You want to walk. You want to feel every blister. You want to feel every stone beneath your feet. And when you get to the far end, you want to feel that you have put something deeply personal of yourself into this pilgrimage to the far end of your journey. And that is what your personal power should be addressing. It should be a pilgrimage of love. So how do we use our personal energy? It's a good question, isn't it? And in my practice, if I'm raising power from outside, I use sound. Other people will use vision, will use dance, will use movement. However, when it's personal like this, then it's silence. I fall very steadily and heavily back onto my East Anglian witchery tradition, which needs silence. I will reach into myself energetically and I will think about the thing that I am focusing on. So if I want to ward my house, I will think very heavily about the feeling of security and of safety and of keeping the people who are in here secure and of rebuffing all of the bad things that go on outside in the world. I will visualize a big white sheet that envelops us all. When I'm actively putting the energy in there, when I'm doing that working, you know, I get really emotional. That sense of guardianship and power, it fills me. It's that same sense that you get when you look at somebody you love so much and you just, you know, you're just overcome with that love. It's like it's got nowhere to go. It's just like, oh, it's just, I love you so much. I get it when I look at my kids, even grown up as they are now. Sometimes it's just, I love you so much. I just don't know what to do with all of this love because there's so much there. And that feeling of, I don't know what to do with all of this, what you want to do at that point is take that. And if you're doing it as a talisman, if you're making a protective talisman for somebody, take that and visage that love coming out of you in like this rose white burning globe and put that to your heart. And that light surrounds it and let it surround it and let it burn, and then take it away and look at it and release that love out into the universe apart from the bit that has lodged into whatever you're making it to your talisman. And then that item is empowered, ensorcelled, whatever you care to call it. But it's just putting that love and power into there. Now, having done that, you close down your circle, you close down your working, however you're doing that. And you will need to ground and center, because I find putting personal power into things is really, really draining. This is why having cakes and wine, or, you know, piece of hot butter toast and a cup of tea helps hugely. Very often I will need a good cry afterwards. I don't know why, but I do. I can recommend the Shelby's funeral scene from Steel Magnolias. It has done me sterling work over the years. I will watch that on YouTube and I will have a proper little sob while eating hot buttered toast and drinking a cup of tea after having done my centering and grounding. Always remember with centering and grounding that you can pull energy up as well as sending it down. So if you have no energy left in you, pull a little bit up. The earth doesn't mind, she'll help. Okay, so the too long didn't read summation here is using your own power in workings a form of witchy self-harm? No, I don't think it is. But at the end of the day, only you can make the judgment about whether it's worth the energy that you're putting into it. I would say enchanting talismans for protection and home protection are pretty much the only times I will use it. But I am not you. You get to make your own decisions. That's the joy of it. Right. I hope I have answered that well enough. If I haven't, ask me a question and I will attempt to do better. But now I think it's time for the positive bit. Here comes the positive bit. Right. Okie doke. So I'm really excited about today's positive bit because it's pretty bloody positive in my book. So anybody who watched the part one part of this power video duality thing may remember that I did a little vlog at the beginning where I went and visited a witchcraft shop in Newark in Nottinghamshire, and it was just the best place. It's so gorgeous, such a lovely selection of stuff, and the lady who runs it, Shanice, is really kind, lovely, and I said that I was looking forward to doing some more work with her. And this week was the week where that has started to happen, and I'm very excited about it. So anybody who's been on this channel a little while may remember that I have a son His name is Jared, and he is a wood carver and a sculptor with a particular interest in kind of esoteric type stuff. So he does wands, he does athames, he does all sorts of bits and bobs. And I had spoken to Shanice, and she said that she would quite like to stock some of both Jared's stuff and my stuff, because I love to sew and I love to do pyrography. So Jared and I went for a day trip to Newark, and we put all of our stuff in the car and we went along. And I'm happy to say that the Raven's Hearth in Newark, in Kirkgate, in Newark, in Nottinghamshire, is now the only bricks and mortar stockist of Grumpy Old Crone stuff and Shire Wood, which is my son's company's things. So she has now got some lovely stuff. She's got Jared has made 2 new wands, one applewood, one yew. He's got a new range of athame holders and wooden English oak athames. So both the handle and the blade are English oak. We've got some tarot boxes that I've done. I make a range of hoodies with embroidery on them. So those are in there as well. She's got loads of stuff of both Jared's and mine, and we're really excited about this. So if you fancy seeing what we've got, get along to Kirkgate, the Raven's Hearth in Newark. My brain fog almost forgot, despite the fact I literally only just said it. So Jared and I had a little bit of a conversation a few weeks back about things that I wish were available on the open market and aren't. And one of the things we spoke about was spell candle holders. Now, if you've got a spell candle holder, the odds are pretty good that it looks a little bit like this. There's your spell candle. Boom, job's a good one, right? But everybody's got these. They come in white and black, and you can either get them with a pentacle on like this, or some of them come like little planchettes from Ouija boards. Maybe you can get triple moons, I'm not sure about that. But they're all pretty much of a muchness. And everybody has them, and they're just a bit tedious. The wax tends to run off, so it can go everywhere and mess up your altar cloth if you're not careful. So I had said to Jared, what I thought would be brilliant would be some kind of candle holder that was perfect for somebody who did a lot of nature-based work, like me. And I said I wanted something that felt more natural. I wanted something that's made out of real wood and wasn't just painted in like plastic lacquer. And I also said what I wanted was, because I do a lot of sigil work, as I've mentioned in the past, and putting a sigil underneath a candle is a really good way of charging it. However, you also risk, if you want to move it or do anything with it, you risk getting wax on your hands, all sorts of things. So I'd said about this to him, and he came up with, it's literally my dream spell candle holder. It's just amazing. Is a little tree stump. And the little tree stump, the candle sits in like this. And the thing that I love best is when you buy one of these, you get a whole load of these little sigil papers. And these fit perfectly underneath here. So they're completely insulated from the candle. So the candle only goes in that far. But energetically, your sigil is still underneath your spell candle. And if you need to take it out and burn it as part of your working, you can do that without burning your hands or without interrupting the spell itself. You can move it really easily. There's just enough room in here so that if the wax runs down the side, it doesn't go down the side and pull on, mess up your altar. And you get these really cool little sigil things with it. I think this is just like one of the coolest things. Now, I know I'm biased because Jared's my son, but I think they're brilliant. He made 4 of these. And I'm not ashamed to say that only 3 of them made it to the Raven's Hearth, because I may have bought one off him before we even got in the car. In fact, I bought that one off him before we even got into the car, because it's just perfect for my practice. I love it. So I'm very happy with that. And it's like the candle holder of my dreams. What a great lad he is. I do love him. Right, so that was my positive bit. Candleholder of my dreams, my stuff's in the shop. Woo! And hopefully this sodding COVID will bog off in very short order, because I'm fed up with feeling poorly. I'm going to go and make myself a large cup of chamomile tea now and eat something, because I'm quite hungry and I'm quite tired and I've got a bit of a headache now. So thank you for joining me. And I hope next week I will both feel and look a little bit perkier than I do today, because this sucks. COVID sucks. Why hasn't it gone away yet? I hate it. And to the person who coughed over me in the Lidl queue and gave me COVID. Right. Anyway, on we go. Onwards and upwards. Bye.